Film Club.
Late December back in 63. Ready?
Why do we start now after that singing?
We can start now if you want.
Cool.
Thank you very much for joining us in an episode of Film Club. I am one, your host, Andy Harrison. To my right, as always, it's the ever-loving Andy Donaldson. How are you doing today?
All right.
Every single week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch film with us. We dive into some of cinema's best by coming back here to talk it out. Andy.
I just realised, by the way, you've absolutely nailed that intro. Well played.
Oh, thank you.
It's all right.
We are rounding out our Tom Hardy trilogy this week.
I'm so glad we did this one than my suggestion.
We started out with
The Drop.
The Drop. We took a look at Bronson. And here we are with Locke. What is Locke about?
Locke is about a foreman portrayed by Tom Hardy called Ivan Locke, who's making a car journey towards a hospital where his baby is going to be born. And it's about the repercussions of this journey, in leaving his job, which is probably the most important night of his career, in amongst explaining to his wife that he's going down for a baby that's not hers, and finally, whilst dealing with a football match he's supposed to have with his kids who don't know the situation but can understand something's wrong. And it's all about Ivan Locke's, how he deals with it all on this journey from Birmingham to London.
Do you know what I'm really looking forward to this episode? And I apologise to every single one of you out there because all of this is going to be so boring.
Oh, is it Studio Canal?
No, it's not Studio Canal, but the whole thing, obviously, if you've seen this film, hopefully you watch the film with us.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
The whole film takes place in a car. So all this stuff down here, I'll try and make it somewhat interesting, but it's going to be mostly just Tom Hardy in a car.
Yeah, that's true. If we go on about that for it, like, okay. So this, it's weird, isn't it? It's not really a film to watch. It's one of those things, again, it's more of a film to kind of take an experience, but it's not really one to watch. And even though the visuals are really good, I think the cinematography is fantastic. The editing is superb, and it really makes, and it helps carry this film forward and like what you're invested in, which is like the audio, the dialogue, stuff like that. And yet it's visually striking.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Hats off to him for making this like 90-minute film, which is still interesting to look at, even though you're just in this tiny one location.
So you've got cinematography, which is Harris Zamba Lucas.
Which, do you want a great example of how even great cinematographers can be kind of pulled in the wrong direction sometimes? Which I don't quite agree with this assessment, but this is the guy that shot the first Thor film.
Oh, wow.
You know, like Canted Angles.
Yeah.
And people hate that film because of that stuff.
Right. Interesting.
I mean, it's just interesting to see how like a director can push and pull a cinematographer in certain ways.
And the editor was Justine Wright, who, I don't know what else they've done. British. Touching the Void, The Last King of Scotland.
Oh, right. Nice.
State of Play, stuff like that. Very good.
She is British because the majority of his film is British.
Yeah.
It's made by
Stephen Knight. Wrote by him as well, or written by him.
Stephen Knight, known probably to most people for making Peaky Blinders.
Fuck off.
Yeah,
I did not know that. Okay. Really?
Yep. He's the guy who, it comes up, created by Stephen Knight.
Really?
He wrote a bunch of episodes of, he created, so he wrote a bunch of episodes of Peaky Blinders as well. Probably part of the reason that Tom Hardy pops up in both. There's a working relationship going on. Very talented guy.
Do you want to know some interesting trivia?
I do.
He also created Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So let's just go on about.
I love it.
He's written for Peaky Blinders.
So hang on, this entire
film.
film.
He created. Yeah.
Can we call this
weird?
Can we call Locke an entire spin-off?
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Where he just phones a friend.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It is interesting that he wrote Peaky Blinders because that actually brings a lot to light in terms of bringing the best out of particular characters, particular actors. In this case, Tom Hardy, of course. And the way he just pulls it all together, it's quite a short film. 80 minutes? 86?
Yeah, it comes in just under an hour and a half.
85 minutes, sorry, yeah. Which is ideal for me on my train to and from work.
But even though it's short, like it's still feature length.
Oh, yeah.
And yet it flies by so quickly. I don't know about you, but I watched this film and just absorbed the whole thing.
I watched half of it, like 45 minutes this morning, or more or less. And then I watched the bit on the way back. And then it kind of ended perfectly with my journey, right there. And it just, it kind of like normally my journey I'll go through and I'll get to certain stops and all this and I've got this much time left like this, and I was where I started, and then I was suddenly where I ended, and I was like, oh, I'm there now. And then I come back and I come home and it ended, and I was like just coming into here. I was like, oh, kind of wanted to be more, but it ended perfectly. But I just kind of like
Yep. I got to name this film as well and wanted more.
Right. So we've gone about the technicalities of it. As a film as a whole, what did you think?
I think it's great. I think I was a little worried at first, where it starts out and he's only calling like a few random people and stuff, and it keeps going conversation, then a bunch of like scenic shots of him driving down the highway, conversation, scenic shots. I was like, oh, this is a bit formulaic. And then I think the moment where I was in was where suddenly the complication gets dropped in, which is where you find out what he's driving towards, which is obviously his soon-to-be born child. And at that point, it really hooked me. And then obviously the conversations start flying in like much faster, start to become much more intense. The conversations start to overlap, and like you start to have like a little bit of anxiety when he gets calls waiting and stuff, and you're thinking, who is it? He needs to talk to everybody at every given point. It's great. I really thoroughly enjoyed it.
This is one of the best films I've seen in a long time. I absolutely came out blown away by it, and I think it does two things. It did two things to me when I came off. Like, so I was like, the ability to it impacted me in an emotional level quite a lot, and yet at the same time it left this huge void. Like, what the fuck does he do? At the same time, it also felt fulfilled. As a whole, as a film, it definitely feels fulfilled. Even though it then ends it on like not a cliffhanger, but ends it on like it's like a snippet of his life, or well, a big important snippet of his life, may I say?
You may.
And I think going back on what you said about the conversations coming in, there's an incredible ability, because obviously it's one performance. It's not a one performance film, but it kind of it's basically Tom Hardy in a car driving, taking calls. But the ability to have characters that only come from phone calls that you can understand, from simple things like bastard on his phone, which is his boss who fires him. The Irish guy who's alcoholic and stuff. The father who's not there, who he's speaking to as a figment of his he's almost justifying his actions to himself in speaking to his father.
The one thing I didn't like.
Didn't you?
Yeah, where he talks to the back seat. It just felt a little filmy.
I liked it. I actually liked it, and the reason I liked it is because I feel like that was there. I mean, whether or not you think it's filming or like a ploy or something like that, it was Ivan's way of saying, you're doing the right thing. You are not your dad and stuff like that. But the way he did it was because he seems like a very formulated. I mean, if you just said it spoke to himself, that's not the kind of guy he is. He's the kind of guy who speaks to someone else and portrays emotions out. And I think it's a testament to his character. I absolutely love going on the actual character now. You understand him as an individual. You understand just the dialogue he uses and the way he says stuff and his mannerisms, his attitude towards everything, and the use of the word fix, the use of the word okay in this film. It speaks true to what he is. He is a guy that he puts on overalls, he puts on his jacket, he works, he fixes stuff. He's a manual guy.
Yep.
From the whole language, you can tell he's a manual guy. So if it's something that comes like that, like an emotional level, he struggles without using those kind of like, I'm going to fix it and stuff like that.
Because what he does is he sees a problem, he finds out what the root of the problem is, and he finds a way to address that problem.
It's a very logical,
and he applies that
person.
to his relationships as well,
Absolutely,
and his world life.
Absolutely. And it's really, really, again, well written, isn't it? In the way that he does that. And it's really cool. Like, it's a really subtle thing that's put in there that you can tell so much from this character. Like, it gives you so much information in this film about Ivan Locke.
Yeah.
But in a way where it's not just spoon-fed to you.
It totally elevates it. Like that sort of nuance in the writing and nuance in the performance elevates it to something a little bit higher. And Tom Hardy in particular does a great job at bringing an ability to ride the line between being calm and not condescending.
Absolutely.
And he's able to like kind of remain calm because you get this feeling that like he's been processing it for months. So he's ready for all this shit to go wrong. And now he's going to deal with that shit.
Yeah, and what better way to describe it when he's speaking to the council guy? The council's guy in an Indian restaurant, you can't do that. Goes back and says, actually, no, you're the one that plans everything. You have stuff in advance. I respect you. Everyone in the industry respects him. He says, you're one of the best at what you do. So I think you're absolutely right. He has planned this because he's the way to go forward. And that's just what he is, an individual. And again, it speaks to his character, those little subtleties in the dialogue and the writing. It's incredible.
This was clearly a film which I think was made for it was a writer's film and it was an actor's film.
Yeah.
It's a pun not intended vehicle for Tom Hardy, and
We've used that word a few times recently, but I'm glad. This is why I'm glad we're doing Tom Hardy stuff, because it absolutely is.
Yep.
It absolutely is.
Totally is. And the whole process is part of why this film stands out, I think, a little bit as well. So the director and the writer, Stephen Knight, wrote this in a couple of days.
What?
He wrote it in just a couple of days. They managed to get some funding for it. And then they shot it across 6 nights.
Fuck me.
So what they would do, this is a really cool technique. What
They had a budget of $2 million.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
So what they did was they put...
That's less than the room. It's only a third of what the room was.
Always compared to the room. They put a car on the back of a flatbed truck and drove it down the motorway.
Oh my! Was his actual inside on a motorway?
He's actually in a car. He's actually on a motorway.
Oh,
and
God.
what they would do is they'd get the other actors into different little like offices and things, and they would actually call and they'd perform everything together live. So every night for 6 nights, they ran the whole film through.
That is absolutely incredible.
Isn't
That's
it?
insane.
That's awesome.
It makes it even better. It makes that whole thing, I felt, even better because...
Except then what you're basically doing then is it's almost this weird blend between cinema and theatre.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost like a play. It's almost like, an act sort of thing.
It is.
Honestly, when we do our top 10, this is going to be there. Or whatever. Jeez, that's blown me away. That is some fact.
It's such a really weird, sort of cool, quirky performance, isn't it?
Oh, Tom Hardy's amazing. Like, can I just say, I'm not normally a huge fan of the Welsh accent, the Welsh people. I know I've got a good friend from Cardiff or Swansea. I think he's from one and he lives in the other, Sam. And he's a film critic himself. He's got a blog. I'll put in the things below because represent. Lovely guy. And besides him, this is the only Welsh accent I really, really enjoyed. Fucking what a performance, Tom Hardy. What a performance. Like, that is such a...
I've got one more bit of trivia around the Welsh accent.
Go on.
So, Tom Hardy, after this film came out, there was a bit of the Welsh community that was like, what is that? When they heard the accent. And Tom Hardy was like, oh man, like, you know, I thought I'd nailed it. I'd done a bunch of research into it. And like, so what he did was he found this friend of his that's Welsh and followed him round and listened to him. And I think he said went to the Middle East with him or something because he had to go for another gig. And, you know, absorbing his accent and, you know, figuring things out, applied it to this character. And after the film came out, found out the guy was English.
But I thought the accent was good. Isn't that supposed to be?
Apparently it's not.
What?
Like when the film started, I was trying to figure out if he was supposed to be Welsh or like Indian sort of immigrant. But yeah, it's clearly Welsh. It's a little bit off.
Oh,
but
right.
you know, it's like when someone does a Yorkshire accent and like to the rest of the world they go,
yeah.
oh, that's great. And we go, fucking hell.
Yeah, fair play, play. Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, don't get me wrong, like Sam, for example, my mate back there, he's got a very English Welsh accent and fucking I'm going to get absolutely berated for that. But I spoke to him a few times, you don't sound Welsh, you don't sound like the Wales I know. The Welsh I knew was like Northern Wales, you know, is it?
Basically sheep.
No, I'm going to get fucking berated for that. Sorry, Wales.
Sorry, Sam.
Sorry, Wales. No, Sam's from the south. He'll laugh at that. Sorry, Northern Wales. But it's true. That is the one that's got the Welsh twang. Look at something like Fresh Meat. I think she's called Jodie on it, blonde girl.
Yes.
That's very like Northern Wales. Northern Wales accent. That was not a Welsh accent at all. I'm not going to attempt it. How little I listen to it. Whereas Sam, it's more like kind of round off. It's more English. It's a bit... I need to do this politely. A bit more pronounced, I was going to say. Whereas with Aaron Locke's voice, he had those twangs. It was like a middle ground. I actually thought it was really good. I read that it was good.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool accent. For somebody who, like, I don't really care if it's authentic.
For something like true, yeah, I agree. For something like where it's got a twang, like it's like it's got Irish accent in it. Donald is obviously Irish in it. Who's played by Moriarty off Sherlock Holmes series with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. Moriarty is actually the Donald guy that runs and gets drunk. Interesting. But for something like with such a twang in the accent, it's very interesting seeing it on a very calm and collected level that he does in this film.
Yeah.
Very well played. I fucking loved it. I love the performance. There's one scene, there's a couple of scenes where he does, there's one scene where it's towards the end and it's where his son, I think it's Tom Holland at this point, who's Sean.
Of course, it's Tom Holland, isn't it?
It is
I made this
Not
joke
Eddie,
last
sorry,
week that
Eddie's
it was Spider-Man and Venom. I completely
yeah.
blanked when I was watching this that it's Tom Holland.
Yeah, well, I couldn't tell which one it was because they both got quite a similar voice anyway. It's Eddie, the younger one. And at the end, he's going, oh, it's that guy. Is that guy? 'Cause there's a football match, and that's like how the relation, the dynamic between the two kids and the father not being there.
What a great scene that is.
Mate, and he just goes, you took him round, and you just see Locke, and he's not talking.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk. And he just, again, acts with his face, much like in Bronson, I was saying, how he acts with his face. There's tears in his eyes and stuff like that. And yet he's holding strong because that's the kind of guy he is.
And you can tell that Tom Holland doesn't have any sort of happiness in his voice. He's just he's trying to keep things together.
He's like, oh, but pretend that we haven't seen it. Oh,
it's heartbreaking.
That's what I mean. So when I came out, there was this emotional void and yet this sense of fulfillment because it rounded off as a film and yet it let it go like that. You know, like this is the direction we're going. Make what your mind up. That's why it came out just off there. And I still am a bit blown away by it. And I do have this thing where I watch a film and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. But I think this truly is one of the best films I've seen in quite a while.
So I'm going to ask you to do the impossible. Of the 3 Tom Hardy performances we've seen over the past couple of weeks on Film Club,
Hands down this one.
Rank the 3 of them.
This one, Bronson, and then The Drop.
Okay.
I really like The Drop because I love the subdued performance, but I think that's why I liked it an awful lot. It was very good. I think Bronson, if you took away the actual dramatic parts of it, where he goes from one extreme to the other and he's on stage and that one way he's going back and forth, take those ways apart, I'll probably put The Drop above it, but I think you can't deny Bronson on that. This...
You're not seen, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you.
Right.
I was listening to an interview with Tom Hardy, and apparently in that scene where he flips back and forth in Bronson, he was using 2 auto cues on either side of the room to get his lines right. Similarly, in this, obviously,
really?
there's about 6 auto cues in the car, so you could look for his lines anywhere in the car.
Bloody hell!
Because you can't expect the guy to remember, that much
insane
in terms of dialogue. Sorry, do carry on.
No, well, this I think his performance, because you separate, you look past the well, you don't look past the acting, you look past the way the presentation, the dialogue, the accent and stuff like that. But you actually look at the facial, the body language of him, and to do what he did and represent the emotion that he had in the car, and also the calmness and everything else, literally sat like that, or like this, or like that.
Yeah.
To do that.
Even just like I love some
position.
of the little things, like his body language. Like he's a bit more tense at certain points. He slumps. He's very like collected at certain moments, just to kind of show where he is in his arc. Great.
Same question to you.
Probably surprisingly this. I wasn't expecting it to be this, but I think maybe it needs a little more time to sink in. But I think this one, I'm aware Bronson's maybe a better performance, but I think personally I prefer The Drop and then Bronson. But I mean, it's
tough between...
All of it is up here, though. Yeah. That's the thing.
This is why we've done Tom Hardy, because he's absolutely fucking one of the best actors of our generation currently.
It has been an absolute joy for the past 3 weeks doing
I've enjoyed this.
Tom Hardy back to back.
And there's so much more to do. There's so much more to do.
There's loads we could continue doing if we wanted. We have a Tom Hardy couple of months if we wanted to.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys watched along at home with us and had a bunch of fun, because Tom Hardy has been great.
Oh, can we just give a shout out to Hollander for just starting us off on The Drop? Fucking thank you. It's been a really enjoyable few weeks of Film Club.
That's a good point. Yeah, it was Hollander Chiquita which started us off on this Tom Hardy trilogy by accident by recommending The Drop the first week. If you want to recommend film, or you want to tell us what you thought of Locke, I was going to say The Drop then, but it's not The Drop, you can let us know in the comments below, or you can hit us up on Twitter, as always. We'll be back once again next week, where we are moving away from Tom Hardy.
But we're moving strong performances.
Yeah, we are going to be taking a look at There Will Be Blood.
Because Daniel Day-Lewis is fucking insane.
And Paul Thomas Anderson's pretty good as well.
And Paul Dano.
If you want to be part of the club, get watching, and we'll see you guys back here next week. Bye.
Milkshake.
Brings all the boys to the yard.
Oh, you don't know it, do you? You don't know it.